Smash Bros. Ultimate makes Bowser a better boss. Let me explain. Even though Bowser is one of the most recognizable villains in all of video game history, his fights sometimes have a weird flow. Whether it's fighting him in his giant space bathtub in Super Mario Sunshine, crashing his moon destination wedding in Super Mario Odyssey, or escaping various chase sequences across the series' history, he's not exactly the most consistent fighter. So when the Smash Bros. Series brought the iconic baddie over for a fight, the dev team was tasked with adapting a platformer genre boss over to a fighting side, which can be quite a challenge when the movesets aren't exactly one-to-one. On top of this, the fight has to still be reminiscent of a Bowser brawl. To accomplish this, we get the introduction of Giga Bowser, a beefed up version of the famous Koopa that fights entirely different to what we would expect from a Super Mario series boss battle. But we can still look at this version and tell that it's distinctly Bowser. So today, let's take a look at how Smash Ultimate honors Bowser's platformer history, while also building a better and more traditional boss fight. Hey all you Koopa kids, I'm Skip the Tutorial, and this is Boss Battle Breakdown, a deep dive into the ins and outs of boss design. And hey, if this is your first time here, then breathe some fire on that subscribe for weekly insights into your favorite boss fights. For starters, let's take a look at how a traditional Giga Bowser fight unfolds. Worth mentioning out the gate is that even though his history dates back to Smash Melee, we'll be focusing in on his Smash Ultimate appearance here. However, it shouldn't make all that much of a difference, since he, for one, has a fairly consistent track record. Alright, so we kick off the fight with the lovable Bowser, slamming the ground and ultimately transforming into the much more intimidating Giga form, with more angular features and especially a greater size. It's clear this fight feels entirely separate to what we associate with Bowser. And from here, we get into the fight, and despite the menacing shift in looks, his attacks do strike a great sense of deja vu, from his flare breath to his slashes and ground pounds. So much here feels familiar, which makes entire sense. This version of Bowser simply utilizes a more powerful version of Bowser's basic moveset in the Smash series. This comparison becomes even more apparent in Ultimate's classic mode, where you are tasked with defeating regular Bowser before even seeing his evil side. Even when Giga Bowser made an appearance as Bowser's final smash in Brawl, he served as just a more juiced up version of his playable counterpart. So alright, he's a clone. Or an Echo Fighter, whatever. Isn't that just lazy boss design? Well, I don't think so. I actually think this is the reason this bizarro version of King Koopa can still feel so reminiscent. Bowser's base moveset in Smash is designed with plenty of care to his historic moves, like the ground pound from Super Mario Bros. 3, the continuous fire stream from Mario 64, and the shell spin that's indicative of the entire Koopa race. From that, when these familiar attacks are applied to Giga Bowser, they fit right in with our preconceptions of a Bowser homage. Plus, since this representation roots so much back to his Smash form, this Smash Bros. Style of boss fight, characterized with a health bar and an accessibility to a wide range of characters, in my opinion, works pretty well. Now that we have that notion of how a Giga Bowser brawl plays out, let's put that in perspective of a more traditional Bowser boss fight from the Super Mario Bros. Series. And I use that word very loosely, since, as we discussed earlier, there's not exactly one distinct format of Bowser boss fight. That being said, we can still very much find a common theme across these different sequences. In so many of the Bowser boss battles, we deal damage to the foe indirectly. In Super Mario Bros. 3, the player baits him to ground pound his own way into the pit. Or in Super Mario Sunshine, where instead of going for the foe, we instead rocket down his bathtub supports. Or, of course, the numerous times we have to run past the boss and take out some form of switch to tumble him down to his doom. That's a boss design strategy that even dates back to the plumber's first outing on the NES. Even in more active examples, such as chucking the boss into bombs in Super Mario 64, or throwing the wind-up toys back at him in Super Mario World, we don't really see a common thread of Mario dealing damage to the boss himself. And that's no fault of these games. It works. Since Mario's main mechanics center to the platforming side, if the games were to suddenly have some fight that broke to a brawling form, it would feel weird. In my earlier look into Bowser boss design, I argued that the Mario series' place as a platformer meant that the bosses should center around that theme. And while that's all well and good, it doesn't necessarily translate the best over to a Smash Bros. Game. If we were to take one of the more platforming-focused Bowser brawls of the series, say his chase sequence from New Super Mario Bros. Wii, the point A to point B setup makes sense in a game about going from point A to point B. But it becomes much tougher to be faithful to that side of Bowser while still making a compelling one-on-one fight. For that reason, I think the way that Smash adapts Giga Bowser does something really impressive. It makes Bowser feel more like an actual boss. To look back at that earlier "what makes a good platformer boss" video, some folks have brought up fair counter-arguments that some of these Bowser platforming sections don't even feel like boss fights. So, to that note, the Smash Bros. Representation does a solid job at introducing elements that we would expect from a more traditional boss fight, like a health bar and direct damage, while keeping in line with our Mario image of the character. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about this today is to show an alternative side to adapting iconic bosses in a representative game like Smash Bros. Giga Bowser isn't exactly the one-to-one translation we see from a boss like Marx hopping over to the series. But it also doesn't stem from a game with nearly as much of a fighting and therefore boss focus like the Kirby series. For this process to happen, some liberties have to be taken. And, at least in my opinion, the ones that don't detract from the bigger picture of the boss fight. And hey, if there's anything worth praising in this representation, it's that we have an actually intimidating version of Bowser. Which is saying something. Hey there, slash this one in the top right to see how Smash Ultimate makes Marks even creepier, or ground pound down in the bottom right for another video. If you want to support the channel and get new boss battle breakdowns every week, then crack a smack on that subscribe button. But until then, take care, and you have a good one, alright?